Between now and Selection Sunday on March 13th, there are still tons of regular season college basketball action to go. Plus, all of the conference tournaments and WagerTalk and Sports Memo are announcing their March Madness Bonanza special, which includes the rest of college basketball regular season, conference tournaments, NCAA tournament through the national championship, and any plays released in the NIT or CBI tournaments. Sign up for this promotion now at your favorite handicappers homepage and get the rest of the college basketball season through the national championship on Monday, April 4th for just $177. That's under $5 a day for one of the best betting experience in sports. Act fast as the March Madness Bonanza special is only available for a limited time.
It is Tuesday, March 1st. No leap year. That means we get even closer to March Madness. Happy birthday to all those February 29th birthdays. By the way, you're 25% the age of everybody else in the population as we speak. Teddy Covers appreciates my math jokes. But no, it's March 1st. March Madness is officially here. And we're going to continue to talk college hoops on today's show. Also sneak in a little NBA big game breakdown with my co-host Teddy Covers. And also some Asian baseball. Tokyo Brandon, as I mentioned, college hoops, so with Adam Trigger, going to look at some SEC action. And then we, of course, have Dave Sharapan from the Las Vegas Strip as well, because it is Tuesday. And don't forget, it's $2 Tuesday at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com as well. Gold Sheet at WagerTalk and 3 cappers at SportsMemo.com, a 3 for $5 special. But, Teddy, before we get to all that great information, it's Tuesday, which means last night was Monday. You know, we talked yesterday about how you learned a lot on the weekend. We had all those upsets in college hoops. Did you learn anything last night on Monday in college or pro basketball?
You know that I did, Steve. That's part of my job. I got to learn something every night. And let's be real. March is here, and all I can say is there will be beats. All right. If you had Syracuse plus 8.5 against North Carolina last night, you already know there will be beats. At no point in the first half was North Carolina leading by 8.5. At no point in the second half was North Carolina leading by 8.5. The Qs up 1, less than a minute to play. They run out the shot clock, don't even get a shot clock off empty possession. That's fine. You got plus 8.5. You couldn't ask for a better scenario. And then North Carolina hits the game-winning 3, except they left enough time on the clock for the Qs to tie it with the 2, and it went to overtime. So North Carolina gets the and 1 to go up 9. There's 55 seconds to play in OT. You have Syracuse, you're still alive. Except for that Jimmy Boeheim misses a 3, then the Tar Heels to run the clock, turn it over. The Orange turn it over right back. No points at all in the last 55 seconds. Syracuse loses by 9. It's numbing when you lose a bet that way, especially a big bet. So recognize, beats are going to happen in March. These lines are tight. Weird things will happen. Hopefully, you'll be on the right end of as many as you're on the wrong end of. But do your best. Don't let the March beats make you crazy. No going in. They're going to happen. And hopefully you'll be on the right end of some of them. Oh, no, by the way, NBA favorites last night, just like before the All-Star break. Favorites, 7-0 straight up, 7-0 against the spread in the association. It has not been a good run for underdog bettors in the NBA of late.
Teddy, I was going to ask you any thoughts on that. We talked about it before. Obviously before the All-Star break, a lot of strange things happen. Teddy's speechless about the NBA favorites continue to cover. But Teddy, let me ask you, do you think there's something that has fundamentally changed? Is this a statistical fluke? You know, we talked about before the All-Star break, the 5 days before, teams are often looking ahead, complacent. Same thing coming out of the break, or is this something we got to keep an eye on going forward?
So March tends to be a time in the NBA where the bad teams get really bad and the good teams start to get better. I would not be surprised at all if we see a relatively chalky March in the NBA, because make no mistake about it, when you look at the teams this year, my powering numbers really show it. There's not that much in the middle. You have good teams and you have bad teams. And the bad teams just haven't been covering numbers, certainly not against the good teams. So that may well continue. Again, March is a time of year where the betting markets focus on college hoops. The NBA numbers are painted in a lot of ways. And when you see teams morph in any way, stepping up or stepping back in the month of March in the NBA. A lot of times you can ride those teams betting on or against them for weeks on end.
Yeah, and don't forget, well, plenty of NBA talk each day at 4:15 Eastern right here on WagerTalk TV, the NBA tip-off show. Teddy and I are both on tomorrow on Wednesday, I believe. And then, of course, college basketball show at 2 o'clock. So 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock Eastern, college and pro hoops every day, along with, of course, WagerTalk Today. And let's bring on Adam Trigger. Adam was on the college show with me yesterday on Monday. And Adam, I don't think it necessarily qualifies as a bad beat, but we talked about how the entire world was on Wyoming, and all three of us kind of leaned that way as well. And Drew and I used it as our free play on the show. And one of the things I mentioned was how, Wyoming was Drew mentioned it too, actually. Wyoming was a much better free throw shooting team this season, right? Well, then I watched that game down the stretch. San Diego State, I think, hit the last 6 or 7 straight free throws. They were 13 for 17 from the line. Wyoming was only 10 for 15, and that wasn't necessarily the difference in the game. But once again, the stats all year, San Diego State's been a terrible shooting team on the road. And they hit 54% from three-point range, 12 for 22. That was basically the difference. But public was all over Wyoming. As you guys know, I love to fade the public. I made the rare exemption and went against them there with a undefeated home dog on their home court. But Adam, anything else catch your eye last night in college hoops? Or what are your thoughts also on these favorites covering the NBA? Any thoughts on those?
I don't do a ton of NBA until playoff time, but I have noticed that becoming a trend. As far as Wyoming, they were, I guess we can finally allow them to play a bad game, right? Like, I don't think they've played a bad game like all season, or at least in a while. So it was just an off night for Wyoming, and San Diego State did end up getting there. We'll talk about a couple games where there's a pretty heavy public presence on one side in a minute here. And what caught my eye, really, my biggest takeaway, that something we talked about on the college basketball show, Baylor's just really good, and those youngsters have filled the void for some of their injured players, and that's a team that I would continue to look out for going forward.
Yeah, and folks, Adam's always been a Siena expert, but he's now a Baylor expert as well, because he was at Baylor this past Saturday for College Game Day, and he had some good insight on the show yesterday. He actually had Baylor as his free play on the show to win that game, so it was a nice call there. And I'll tell you, we're going to look at a Big 12 game since you're a semi-Big 12 expert here in a moment. Kansas, TCU, we'll save that for the finale. But let's look at Kentucky, Ole Miss. And I haven't run my public numbers yet today, but I have a feeling maybe Kentucky's getting some public love in this one. Was that the way you were hinting at them?
Oh, yeah. Well, they're absolutely getting public love. That should come as zero surprise. Kentucky has been sort of taking the money all year long. And, this is not me having a problem with Kentucky as much as I just think this is an out of control number for Ole Miss. So the entire flight home from Texas, Chris Thurston and I kind of went through and tried to find those teams that could come out of completely left field to win a conference tournament, because we saw so much of it last year. And one of the teams I circled was Ole Miss. The reason being, Jarkel Joyner is back, and I've also noticed that they have wins over Mississippi State, Florida, and LSU, and they've also played all the top teams tough. They gave Auburn a really good game on their home floor. I think they covered against Auburn on the road. Maybe, it was still a double-digit loss, but they covered the number in that game. They took Tennessee to overtime. They hung right around with Arkansas. So, Ole Miss might be a team that you kind of look at as a team that maybe makes a run in the SEC tournament with nothing to lose. In this case, they're getting 17 points, and they're getting 17 points against a Kentucky team that's been dealing with injury. Severe Wheeler and Ty Washington both came off the bench against Arkansas. But one has to wonder how far, you would push those guys in a situation like this where you're close to almost a 20-point favorite when you have a huge game against Florida coming up this weekend for Kentucky. So to me, this just feels like a spot where if there was ever a spot for Kentucky to just kind of go through the motions and get out and do the bare minimum to get a win, it feels like it's here. And I think Ole Miss is probably a little bit better than the market would sort of have them at. They've played tough against the top teams. So 17 seems like a huge number here with Ole Miss to me.
So looking at the WagerTalk Live odds screen, which also shows some consensus numbers, I'm seeing a lot of support for Kentucky. However, there are a couple other consensus sources that I check. And at the other sources, I'm seeing the money for Ole Miss, the public on Ole Miss. And in fact, 3 different sources I'm seeing that. Only the WagerTalk Live odds screen is showing the money for Kentucky or the public support for Kentucky. This is a two-part question. One, do you care? Does it matter in college hoops? Do we pay attention to who the public likes? I mean, every college hoops line is set to beat wise guys. They don't care about public action. But have we found success fading the public in college basketball? And two, when it comes to this particular matchup, does the consensus numbers have a significant impact on your handicap, or is it just this is a spot? It's just a flat spot for Kentucky, and we want to take advantage of it.
Well, another thing we brought up on the college basketball show yesterday is that better not be your only reason for making a play, right? Like, it's something, in my opinion, it's something you want to be conscious of. But up until this past weekend, I mean, the public's kind of been rolling in college hoop. So I certainly wouldn't make just a fade of the public your only handicap. This particular instance, definitely looking at more of a flat spot for Kentucky, and the fact that I think Ole Miss has been undervalued for a while. And yeah, I would say Ole Miss is getting a little bit more public love than I expected them to here, and there's definitely quite a bit of money on them. I've seen that as well. So, it's something I want to be conscious of in any bet. Like, I typically don't want to be I typically try not to be on the side of, the consensus side, if you will, but certainly not the only reason for a handicap. And I think in this scenario, it's the spot that leads me to think Ole Miss plus 17 is a good bet.
Yeah, and as I said, I hadn't run my consensus numbers yet for college hoops, and a couple reasons why. First of all, I don't put much credence in it at all in the regular season here, and also it's early in the day here. It's noon Eastern, and there's not a lot of money that's coming on these games from the public yet, in my opinion. So I think a lot of times college basketball consensus numbers work in the NCAA tournament, and that's when we will have a Fade the Public video once again. Adam, you were at the TCU Kansas game on Saturday, the Baylor Kansas game on Saturday. Now Kansas plays TCU tonight. That was a huge revenge spot for Baylor. As you've mentioned, Baylor's getting healthier. It's a different team that lost by 24 against Kansas a few weeks earlier. What did you see from the Jayhawks, though, after that 10-point loss, and how do you think they'll play tonight against TCU on the road in a fairly quick turnaround?
Yeah, so the happenings of Saturday, if you will, kind of blew up a potential best bet here for me today. I kind of had TCU circled for this spot. I actually had TCU as a 5% play on Saturday. They beat Texas Tech. And then, as you said, I was at Baylor, Kansas. What I noticed with Kansas was they got up 12 points. They could have probably been up 20, and they kind of just went to sleep. I would say went to sleep from a focus standpoint. They started taking bad shots. They really let Baylor back into that game, and then they couldn't recover. Once Baylor took the lead, there was a great crowd, sellout crowd in Waco. They had a hard time responding to that. And now they turn around and go on the road again a couple days later to a TCU team that, even with that big win over Texas Tech, I still think TCU maybe has to split these games with Kansas to kind of secure their at-large status for the NCAA tournament. So here, listen, TCU, Mike Miles Jr. he was hurt or playing hurt the majority of the season. It looks like he's fine now. He scored 26 points against Texas Tech over the weekend. And I wrote way back in the beginning of the season that TCU, was kind of a team I'd be looking to play on this season, and he was a big reason for it. So I actually think you have TCU quite a bit undervalued right now because he just wasn't himself up until recently. And I think with him healthy, TCU extremely impressive in the second half of that game on Saturday against Texas Tech. And now they catch Kansas. Kansas, you could make the argument, okay, they just lost to Baylor. They should be like laser focused here. But I don't know if that's definitely going to be the case. You get to the end of February. You have to remember these are still 18 to 22-year-old kids. The season is long, and it really starts to take its toll, I think, right about now. So back-to-back road games is tough. And TCU's 11-4 at home this season. You want to talk about consensus? It looks like everyone's on Kansas. I wouldn't just write TCU off that quickly. I think this Horned Frogs team is really good, and they really haven't done anything against Kansas the last few years. So I would not be surprised to see Kansas kind of come in thinking they can just, this might be a walk in the park for them. TCU, great second half on Saturday. I think they could carry some of that momentum here, and I like them against the number in this game.
You're not kidding that TCU hasn't done all that well against Kansas in recent years. In the last 7 meetings, At this point spread, TCU would have covered one of them. And it's been, pretty well one-sided where the Jayhawks have been consistently the better team straight up and against the spread. Does that concern you at all here? Or again, are we just talking about this as not a Kansas team we trust in this spot, and TCU right now is an undervalued commodity, not one of these, hey, let's worry about what happened for the last 4 years type of scenarios? Talk a little about that, Adam.
Yeah, so, there's so little continuity now in college basketball from year to year that I almost really throw out sort of the historical numbers if you want to talk going back 4 years. I mean, so many of these teams, it's not like it used to be where you'd at least have some continuity year to year. Now, rosters are completely different, and it doesn't really surprise me that that's the case because Kansas year in and year out is a Big 12 contender. TCU really hasn't been, this caliber of team for a couple of years now. So, in my opinion, TCU, I think we're almost getting into uncharted territory with them in terms of how good this team could be. Like I said, Miles, if he hadn't gotten hurt, I think that we would see TCU with a winning record in the Big 12 right now. I believe they come into play today at 7-8 in the Big 12. And really, you look at the end of their schedule, they kind of have to go 2-1, in my opinion, to sort of make a strong case for an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament. So I feel like this is a huge spot for TCU, even coming off the win over Texas Tech. They really need to get one more. I think we're going to see a great effort from them tonight. And it's 5.5 seems like too many here. I think it's close enough where they can hang around, potentially win, and cover the number either way.
That's Adam Trigger, college basketball expert and definitely the Metro Atlantic expert, and now a semi-Big 12 expert as well. And no kidding, Adam knows his college hoops. Number one the last 3 and 7 days at WagerTalk.com. Perfect 4-0 sweep the last 3 days. Adam now 6-1 the last 7 days in college hoops. We got a 177 special for everybody at WagerTalk.com, including Adam, myself, Steve Merril, Teddy Covers. You can get all three of us, get our rest of our college hoops for the next month and a half for just 177 for every capper. Adam, what else you got going on at WagerTalk.com?
Yeah, so that's a great special that you can get everything all the way through, through the NCAA final. I will have plays for today. I haven't locked anything in yet. You just heard two that are on kind of my short list that I'm looking at. But it's been a really good run the last few days, being selective, and I'm going to continue to do that. I think I've hit 3 5% plays in a row now, dating back to Saturday. Not sure that anything will make the cut for a 5%er today, but I certainly intend to have best bets up. So, give me an hour or two. I kind of want to let the market develop, but I will absolutely post stuff and definitely check out that college basketball special.
It's Adam Trigger, WagerTalk.com. And Teddy, that's some college hoops talk. Is going to give us 30 seconds. We're going to do big game breakdown, NBA, your national TV, TNT late night game between the Mavericks and Lakers. And by the way, the Prez is on assignment. He headed south this week, but there's still a presidential address. One of my favorite sayings, life, vote early and often. And as always, if we get to 100 likes, you get to see a special presidential address. If there's ever a time to like the show, it's today, because I can only imagine what we're going to get. I'm actually anxious and excited to see this. So hit that like button, hit the subscribe while you're doing it, and we'll be right back. 30 seconds, big game breakdown, Mavericks, Lakers, NBA style.
When you think about the first of the month, what sticks out? New Year's Day or maybe April Fool's Day? Well, at Wager Talk and Sports Memo, we are going to make the first of every month a celebration. As many of you know, and some of you may not, when you purchase Wager Bucks, they can be used exactly the same as cash, dollar for dollar. Each and every day, you can save up to 20% on every purchase you make by purchasing Wager Bucks. From $100 gets you $110 to $2,500 gets you $3,000. But for the rest of this 2022 calendar year, when you head to the Wager Bucks page on the first of every month, we'll credit you an additional 10% in Wager Bucks until the clock strikes midnight. Mark your calendars for the first of every month, as this special is only available until midnight Pacific time on the first of every month through the end of the year.
It is time for today's big game breakdown. And let's talk a national TV affair for tonight. That would be the Dallas Mavericks traveling to LA to take on the Lakers. Right now, looking at the Wager Talk live odds screen, I'm seeing Dallas painted -5.5 across the board. Total sitting, let's call it 216.5 for this ball game. And let's call things what they are, okay? It's pretty clear post All-Star break what the Lakers are, okay? This is a team that went into the break losing 12 of their last 18. They came out of the break with home games, very winnable home games against the Clippers and Pelicans. And I forget if the Clippers game was a home game or not. They lost them both. And you start looking at this roster, okay? Yeah, you got Hall of Famers all over the place. But talk about, LeBron James, Dwight Howard, Russell Westbrook, Trevor Ariza. They're all starting for the Lakers right now. They were all stars 10 years ago. It's not 10 years ago anymore. And LeBron, he's got 1,352 regular season games, 262 playoff games under his belt. I'm telling you, I've watched LeBron's career as closely as anybody. He looks old, all right? And the quotes coming out of LeBron's camp, he wants out. We've seen this movie before. The Lakers quotes. Read the quotes out of this team. Russell Westbrook. Teams are coming in, playing harder. I believe that's kind of their scouting report. Just play harder than them and see what happens. And it's working. Until we have the determination that we're not going to allow it, especially on our home floor, it will continue to happen to us. Dwight Howard, quote, "It's real easy to give up, throw in the towel, and say negative things. But we've got to, not we're going to, we've got to stay positive. We can't sulk in defeat. We can't quit on each other. I know it's been a very rough season, but I think that'd be bad." Guess what, Dwight? It's already bad. All right? Now, Dallas is 7-2 in their last 9. Okay, they just rallied from 20 points down at Golden State the last time out to get the win. 3-1 on their current road trip. You read the quotes coming out of this locker room. Hey, Jason Kidd, quote, "That was a character, environment, culture win for us in the sense that no one quit. Everyone kept fighting and we found a way to win. That's what good teams do." All of a sudden, Spencer Dinwiddie stepping up for Dallas. He's been a monster the last 2 games for the Mavs. Another weapon for a team that has plenty. Bottom line, Lakers, they're going to flip that switch on. Haven't seen any signs of that. And until we see signs of that, we're going to fade the LA Lakers at every reasonable opportunity. Give me the Dallas Mavericks -5.5 against the Lake Show this evening. And there's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Merril.
Yeah, the LeBron James saga is something I'm going to be following closely. His son, Bronny James, is 17-year-old, 6'2", 180-pound guard. And basically, if you draft him, you're probably drafting LeBron James in the near future. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. Mark Cuban even came out and said that yesterday, actually, in a podcast. Maybe a couple of years away from that, but something to keep an eye on. LeBron's focus and maybe load management for that same reason, just so he can hang around long enough to play with his son. I think LeBron's an interesting enough factor right now in the NBA. That's the big game breakdown, 10 o'clock Eastern, your TNT late night game on Tuesday. By the way, Teddy, you're red hot. What is it, 6-1 run, I think? No, that was Adam Trigger. You're even hotter. 7-1 run, my man, over the last 3 days in all sports. You got a couple best bets going tonight, including a 5%er, I believe. Tell us about that, Teddy.
Sure, yeah. I mean, we're running real good. Like you said, 7-1 the last 3 days. The college hoops is now 22-9, I think it is, over the last 3 weeks, 71%. The 5% big ticket plays, 28-13, 68%, dating all the way back to last May. So we've got all 3 in play, all three streaks rolling the last 3 days, the college hoops for the last 3 weeks, and the big tickets for the last 9 months. All those streaks in play tonight with that 5% big ticket selection. That's a watch and win on ESPN, and it's part. You can get it as part of a 3-game package as well. Don't buy any plays. Never buy a play. You want to sign up? Get a package. That's my advice. Go about your business.
Well, yeah, and I mean, right now, everybody's got that 177
that's my
special.
That's my promo copy, Steven. Don't buy the play.
No, but I'm telling you, what a great time to maybe get a package, including that 177 rest of college basketball season. No promo code needed. Teddy covers. Myself, Steve Merril, I'm #1 in college hoops the last 2 years combined. You just saw Adam Trigger's knowledge in college basketball. But that puts all of us to shame with our next guest, Teddy, as Tokyo Brandon is the winningest capper at WagerTalk over the past 365 days. You'd be like, why would we want to bring on the competition? Well, I'll be honest, I'm not sure we compete with Tokyo Brandon because he handicaps Asian sports. So you could have Teddy covers, you could have Steve Merril, and you can have Tokyo Brandon, and you're going to make even more money because you are diversifying your portfolio. And that is an understatement because, Brandon, you really are the Asian sports specialist. 291% return the last year, 365 days. Tokyo Brandon, welcome to the show. Let's jump right in. Look, Asian sports is not my specialty, but it's something I find fascinating because you dominate the point spreads, and as long as you convert those yens or those wons to dollars, it cashes just the same, right? Chinese baseball, give us a play for tonight. I think we got the Dragons and the Tigers. I'll let you run with it.
It's basketball, but yeah,
basketball.
That's okay.
It is.
Correct.
Actually, I missed the E and the T. I missed the K and the T, and I just saw the S and the E. It is basketball. This is exactly why I'm letting you run with it. No, Dragons, and the total is 84.5. That probably was a giveaway that it wasn't baseball. By the way, that was my Prez moment. If you want more Prez moments, keep hitting the like button. Presidential Address right around the corner. Tokyo Brandon, Chinese basketball.
If it was Prez, he would probably try to pronounce the city name of instead of just saying Dragons.
But Jiangsu and Jillian Northeast.
Jiangsu. Yeah, Jiangsu. But yeah, Jiangsu and Jillian today. And this is a 5% play, which I'm actually giving out for free because February was not a great month for me. I'm still number 4 among all cappers since January 1st as far as all sports profit. But February wasn't a great month. I was number 1 at the end of January, so I fell a little bit. So I'm giving this out for free. It's a 5% client play, which I actually sent to clients about 8 hours ago. And I'm on the Jiangsu Dragons team total over 84.5. Jiangsu is actually not a great team, but when I crunch my numbers, I have 4 different projection models, and all of them have this around 88, 89, 88 in that area, and they're all consistently over 84. So I'm on the Jiangsu team total over 84.5.
So I got to ask you, Brandon, because the Dragons have been bottom feeders, but not just bottom feeders. They're bottom feeders with a terrible offense for years. And you want not the game over. You don't want to bet against their defense. You like their team total over. Tell me why.
That is correct. As you know, as you are the consummate professional, Teddy, Chinese games have 12-minute quarters, just like the NBA, and 84 is a very low total. You would have to score about 22, 21 points per quarter you only need 21 points to get over this, right? So Jiangsu is one of those teams. They are a consummate bottom feeder, but the bookmakers, I think, overcompensate for how bad they are. They actually average 84 points a game, which is not, which goes against my logic here, but they're playing a team that gives up 95 points a game. I think 84 is just way too low, even for a bad team. And actually, in their last 3 games, they've been scoring quite well. So I'm on the over.
Brandon, let me ask you, Chinese basketball, what level of play is that? Is it a considerable, maybe good SEC, like, top college basketball? How would you look at Chinese basketball, just for the viewers out there?
It's a good question. Often people ask me that in Japanese baseball and Chinese basketball, how would it compare to American sports? Very good question. I think there are a couple of Chinese teams that could beat some college teams, but we're probably talking an upper level college basketball team level, in my opinion. Maybe not,
not much
maybe
better
not
than like
a Gonzaga level or something like that.
So not much better than a top
maybe
20 caliber team.
Yeah, maybe like a top, maybe the number 25 to 35 team in the nation is probably a pretty average Chinese. It's really hard to compare, to be honest, but I would say a medium to higher level college team is about the level we're talking, and imagine those teams playing 12-minute quarters. So
that's interesting to me. I would have thought it was a higher level than that. So that's interesting. I would have thought since these are pros that it.
Yeah. Well, to give you a little bit, if you want to kind of transpose or juxtapose somebody, you remember Jimmer Fredette, who was really good at BYU. He played for last year in the Chinese league, and he was the number 1 3-point shooter, and he's 35 right now, and he kind of fizzled out in the US. So he can be a star in this league. So that tells you pretty much what the level is. I think
Well, I know some guys that could
there are a
probably
couple of
play
other
in
ones.
this
Yeah.
league also would be some MAC players, right? And you're going to actually look at a MAC game here. Ohio, who's a pretty good MAC
Yep.
team, against Bowling Green, who is not
Yeah.
a good MAC team. In fact,
Yeah.
Ohio's 23-6. Bowling Green has lost 6 straight, but it is their last home game of the season. How are you approaching this one?
Yes. Yes, it's kind of rare that I'm going to give out a play on American sports since I'm the Asian handicapper, but Japanese baseball is full in effect. The preseason is full in effect as well. There's no contract negotiations in Japanese baseball. However, the lines are not out for today's game. I wanted to do a Japanese baseball, but the lines are not out. So I'm throwing in a college game. So I'm on the Ohio team total. Um, I'm on the under, I think it was 82 the last time I checked it. Yeah, 82 and a half. So I'm on the under 82 and a half in the Ohio game. The last time they played Bowling Green, they scored 85, but that was at home. They averaged 74 points a game. Bowling Green allows 80 per game. So I think 82 and a half is just way too high for this. So I'm on the Ohio team total under 82 and a half for this game. That's also a client play that I sent out about 8 hours ago.
And, with the baseball lockdown, shutdown, whatever we're in right now, it looks like opening day is not going to happen. So this is maybe the best time ever to get Tokyo Brandon to get the Asian baseball. And Brandon, you've got a nice little special right now. I believe both Korean and Japanese baseball, the entire season for
Correct.
both for $4.99. Tell us a little bit about that.
Correct. And your just previous guest, Adam, he and I are actually going to be doing a KBO, not quite daily, but 4 times a week. We're going to be doing a KBO show, and that's going to be starting in about 2 or 3 weeks. So him and I are looking forward to that. But as far as my special goes, my Japanese plus KBO Korean baseball seasons both combined together, the whole season for $4.99. If you go to my Tokyo Brandon's WagerTalk.com page, you don't need any redemption code or coupon code. You just scroll down and find the early bird special. You can get both of those for $4.99. I won 58% of my Japanese baseball and I won 62% of my Korean baseball last season, and that's over 500 bets in the season.
And keep in mind, you were down a little bit over the past month, and you still had a 290% return. So, folks, basically over the last year, you've tripled your bankroll with Tokyo Brandon, and you can get both Korean and Japanese baseball for $4.99, not each, both. That's $250, $249 and a half for each. Tokyo Brandon, WagerTalk.com. Thanks, Brandon. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you, guys.
And, baseball, Teddy, is definitely in some turmoil right now. I think was today the deadline, for opening day not to happen, last I heard. I don't know if I haven't been following it that closely, to be honest. Until I get some information, why do I waste time with it, right? But just your thoughts on that.
I'm taking the over on when the baseball season starts. It does not look good. There's not been progress. We're not seeing lines like we normally would. We haven't seen the free agents get signed yet. We've been in lockout since December. Right now, the baseball betting marketplace is, at least in the U.S. market, pretty non-existent. Slim pickings, and that's likely to continue. We'll see what Dave Sharapan thinks about it when we bring him in. Let's do that now.
Yeah. I was going to say, Teddy, I might have to start handicapping the Little League World Series closer. I have been doing research, as Dave knows, the last few years. And, of course, Dave is our softball expert. And then we got Tokyo Brandon for Japanese and Korean baseball. So we might be okay still. But, Dave, what are your thoughts on baseball and how much of a hit? Obviously, it's not the biggest sport for handicap. Well, it is for handicappers, a lot of volume. But for the books, it's not. But in the dog days of summer, it'd be a little bit of a hit, I would think, with no sports at all.
Oh, man. Boys, good to see you both. No drama today without Prez, which is always good with me. I was up late last night waiting for baseball to have a resolution, and they didn't have a resolution. They were up negotiating all night last night and still didn't come to any sort of agreement. Waiting to hear today. It sounds like they're going to have to cancel games, which, means they're not making them up. They're not pushing it back. They're just going to start the season later and play 154, or who knows what the number is going to be, 145, and then it's going to drop more. What is going to happen, though, it sounds like, is there's going to be an expanded playoff, which will then make up for all the lost handle that April usually gets. But I can tell you this, Merril, it's slow in the book after March Madness. You got playoff basketball, you got playoff hockey, but you need baseball as the daily kind of churn, grind, whatever. If there's no baseball, man, it's going to be slow. We're going to need to really look at the Korean baseball stuff. I was in California over the weekend watching, Division I softball. There's places that are putting up futures now on Division I women's softball. They might put up games on the weekends. College baseball is a great betting opportunity for people. That'll be going on. That might, get a boost, but I'm dreading thinking about, the NFL draft, the Masters, the golf. They'll get a ton of boost and handle if there's no baseball.
Dave, were you around? Were you bookmaking for the last strike in '94/95?
No.
Do you remember that? Because I wasn't. Because I wasn't around either. So I was trying to. We'll see if we can get some info on that. But
I remember.
I do want to ask you.
The Montreal Expos, Teddy. That was the
don't
team
bring that up to
gonna-
Morency. I was going to say, don't mention that to
Morenci's
Gabe,
still
Teddy.
mad about it.
is.
They were going to win.
It's a trigger.
That was their thing. They were going to win the World Series. I mean, they had the best team, and
They had Pedro.
They had Pedro. They had Hall of Famers lineup. I mean, and it's still raw in people's minds up there at least because they were the favorite to win the World Series.
Yeah. Find something better to get mad at 20 years later. Okay, I'm over Weber's timeout. I'm over the timeout now. I didn't like it.
That was 2 years earlier.
It stayed with me, but
Morency needs another
I'm not
2 years.
getting emotional about it anymore. But I want you to make a number for me, Mr. Oddsmaker. Baseball starts May 1st. Give me an
May
over.
1st.
Give me an over-under date on when MLB starts, and give me a money line for baseball by, let's say, May.
I think that's a good number based
too.
on what happened last night. Because I thought if they came up with something last night, there was gonna be baseball April 1st, but that's a dog now. May 1st. Knowing you want to bet the over, I'll make it -1/4 and let you lay it because I think right now I want to be optimistic and hope that there's baseball. I mean, for us, I don't know what we're gonna talk about on a daily basis. I mean, the NBA playoffs are going to be what are we going to talk about? Don't tell me we're going to talk about NFL draft and like NFL preseason and all that other stuff, please. Don't tell me that.
What we're going to talk
Dave,
about
don't you
right
think the
now
NBA
is
will
some
get more
actionable
action, though?
information for tonight. That's what we're going to talk about, my friend. We'll find some ways to get actionable info out there. Talk to me about what you're seeing in the NBA betting markets so far today.
Toronto smoked Brooklyn last night at Brooklyn, and it's a weird, home and home they call it. And now Toronto's an 8.5-point favorite, which I don't know. I think they're going to come on Brooklyn there. They came on Brooklyn yesterday. They're going to come on Brooklyn again today. I don't know if they're going to come at 9 or 8.5, but that line's going to come down. Dallas against the Lakers. Listen, the Lakers are the gift that keeps on giving. They're in complete turmoil. I mean, Dallas opened at 4.5. It's already up to 5.5. Dallas was played. They should be played. The Lakers are a complete go against until further notice. And then, man, Atlanta and Boston's a really good basketball game in the Eastern Conference. Played Boston like it's done. Laid that early number with the Celtics. So those are the 3 games that I saw. I think the Pistons are live. The Pistons have been playing really well lately, getting 3.5. It's probably shorter than it, probably should be, but for good reason. The Pistons are winning games as dogs, not just covering. So, but yesterday, 7 games, 7 favorites. NBA betting is as easy as could be right now. There's a lot of people that are basically starting LLCs because they're professional bettors for NBAs this week, last week. It's pretty easy right now.
Yeah, I joked about that a couple weeks ago when I was guest hosting, Dave, and I think the only best bet I had that night was the only dog that didn't cover that night. So I went against my own wisdom there. But yeah, it's easy money right now until it's not, right? It works until it doesn't, right? College hoops, college hoops playing some of those dogs actually worked on Saturday. Teddy touched on this yesterday. I think we had like 6 or 7 straight road favorite, road top 10 teams or whatever it was lose Look, college hoops is about a week away from all the major conference tournaments. Some of them are starting this week. You see any actionable info there in college? And by the way, you will have some drama because we got over 100 likes. I mentioned it about 20 minutes ago. We've got a 400% increase in likes. There will be a presidential address here in about 2 minutes. But Dave, on the way out, anything college hoops catch your eye?
Holy crap. Even without Prez, we got the likes on Flex Tuesday. I mean, I'll flex just, so that's fine. No, I didn't really look at the college basketball yet. Providence clinched the Big East Saturday, and they're playing Villanova today. Lines put that thing at 10. They already played Providence. No one in the world thinks Providence is good in the gambling Twitter community. The only people that do are the people in Providence, and all they do is win. So saw that one today and thought, wow, a little bit steep, and it's already come down. Villanova probably run them out of the gym. Who knows? I don't know. It's a hard week because you got a lot of things that are already settled, and everybody's playing for March. And today's March 1st. So tread cautiously with these tournaments. It's usually chalk, at least in the beginning, to get to the finals of these tournaments. So be aware of that. Let's see, one other game here. Big 12. Oh, West Virginia, Oklahoma. West Virginia's been dismal. I mean, just bad basketball team. But Oklahoma, I don't know. They're just as bad. A total in the game's 135. Under in that basketball game. Probably lean dog, but I don't want to rightly tell anybody to put money on West Virginia. That's a tough ask. That's it, man. I give. There's a lot more games today to scroll and find. Kansas is laying a number at TCU coming off a loss. Saturday, for the first time in history, 6 teams, all 6 top 6 teams in the AP poll lost.
That's what it was. I think they're all on the road, and they were all on the road, I believe.
They were all on the road. They were, 2 of them were dogs. I mean, so it wasn't like they were all underdogs or they were all favorites. But, and we know what that means. People in the gambling space know. It wasn't that big of an upset because 2 of them were actually dogs on the line. But perfect for books. I mean, I say that all the time that nobody knows shit. I mean, like, going into March, you have all these teams that you think can win. The futures market is wide open. You can come bet the top 10, 15 teams people think can win it. So that's good for business.
Very good. And by the way, Providence still the luckiest team according to the luck rankings of all 358. NC Wilmington is second luckiest. I've seen them play several times, as you know, in the CAA. Their tournament starts this weekend. So tread carefully with Wilmington. They are overrated. Providence may be a different story. Dave, on the way out, before we get to the drama for the presidential address, real quick, where can people find you? I know Sports Grid TV, Sports Grid Radio, Sirius XM, channel 159. What else you got going on?
So every day, Monday through Friday, the schedule's pretty much this. It's Bostonian versus the book. It's available on props.com. Me and Matt Peralt go back and forth just like this. And then from 4 to 7 Pacific, 7 to 10 East, on Sports Grid and Sirius XM 159. We do in-game live. They call it in-game access, in-game prime time. I don't know, they keep changing the name, but we go on and we talk about the games going on, the current lines in-game, and do that. And then various stuff in between. It was on the Hammer Don show yesterday, and hopefully we're trying to get something lined up for baseball, man, but I'm trying to stay positive. We'll see what happens going forward. And obviously, my Cash Considerations podcast channel on YouTube. It's podcast audio and video form as well. So you have all of that every day.
I love it. And of course, Sports BK Consig is where you find him on Twitter. Dave Sharapan from Las Vegas. And catch Dave and myself this Friday night around 7 Eastern on Sports Grid TV and on Sports Grid Radio as well. Thanks, Dave.
I just heard about this thing coming together for Wager Talk. Is this thing happening? Is there going to be a meet
in Vegas?
All these people? Yeah, is that happening?
Party will be there. What's it? Friday, March 18th, from 2 to 7
Friday of the
p.m.
tournament
at the Westgate. Yeah, the Friday of the
that's
tournament.
Be
the Wager Talk guy. Well, we have Kelly, of course, reserved a private space.
Oh boy!
But everyone is welcome. All right, all you out there, in viewer land.
Prez will be there.
Prez going?
Stop by.
Prez will be there.
Come say hi. We'll all be there, dude. You'll be there too.
All right. Cannot wait,
Yeah.
boys. That'll be fun. We get to see everybody together. That'll be good. No drama, though.
in
I
fact-
don't want any drama.
In fact, Dave, if you want some drama, stay on here for the next 2 minutes because it's coming right now as we speak.
Let's
the first taped presidential address from the man himself. Kick it to us.
All right, it's daily presidential address for Tuesday, March 1st. I'm on vacation. I am in Florida. I'm about an hour away from going golfing, but I thought I'd take the time to do a video for you guys, and I'm going to try to do one every single day as I have been absolutely rolling. Anyway, I got a couple of NHL free picks to give you guys, but before we get into that, I just want to make mention I have a 5% play up in the NHL today. It is a must bet play. Let me give you some runs, guys. My 5% runs, 6-2 my last 8, 11-3 my last 14, and I'm 83 wins, 49 losses over the last 26 months of play. My basketball run, 20-7 basketball run. I'm on a 14-5 college hoops run, a 10-4 NBA run. I'm on a 12-5 NHL run, and on and on and on and on. So please head over to WagerTalk and get my package: 1 NHL play, 1 college basketball play, and 1 NBA play. As for free picks today, guys, I really like Minnesota. If I did not have a 5% play up tonight, I would be releasing Minnesota. It is my second favorite play on the board. They're playing Calgary. They're plus 100, and I know Calgary is rolling, but this is a great spot to bet the Wild tonight. I also like Winnipeg in regulation. And talking about rolling, Montreal Canadiens won 5 in a row. That's an aberration for my. We can get Winnipeg around minus 130, 140 in regulation. That is a bet for me. So take Winnipeg in regulation and the Minnesota Wild. Grab my 5% play. I miss you guys all. We'll be back on Monday, but there will be a daily presidential address every day. Thanks for watching.
That was the Prime Minister himself, the Prez, who's now in America, so it's a presidential address. I don't know. It confuses me on a daily basis. That was good stuff. Thank you, Prez. Next time, hold up a newspaper so we have proof of life on a current date. Teddy, that's going to do it for today's show on Tuesday. We'll be back tomorrow on Wednesday. Thanks to Adam Trigger, Tokyo Brandom, Dave Sharapan, and the Prez. I'm Steve Merril. That's Teddy Covers. Teddy, don't forget, 177 special for each and every capper the rest of the college basketball season. WagerTalk.com and $2 Tuesday, the Gold Sheet, and 3 for $5 at sportsmemo.com with 3 excellent cappers as well. Teddy, take us home.
Sure. That's going to wrap it up for the Tuesday edition. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Between now and Selection Sunday on March 13th, there are still tons of regular season college basketball action to go. Plus, all of the conference tournaments and WagerTalk and Sports Memo are announcing their March Madness Bonanza special, which includes the rest of college basketball regular season, conference tournaments, NCAA tournament through the national championship, and any plays released in the NIT or CBI tournaments. Sign up for this promotion now at your favorite handicappers homepage and get the rest of the college basketball season through the national championship on Monday, April 4th for just $177. That's under $5 a day for one of the best betting experience in sports. Act fast as the March Madness Bonanza special is only available for a limited time.